We're joined now by former Navy JAG Don Brown and constitutional law attorney. Don, thank you so much for being with us today. The Department of Justice now says it's investigating and vows to press charges. Why were these actions by this mob of protesters who disrupted these church services, a place of worship? Why is this such a clear violation of the FACE Act?
Bill Clinton signed into law by him under the jurisdiction of Democrat Congress with Tom Foley as Speaker. They sold it as something to protect abortion clinics, Freedom of Access to Clinics Act, but also to protect houses of worship. And when you read the act, it's 18 U.S.C. 248. If anybody wants to fact check me, it lists out prohibited activities. Prohibited activity number 1 is to interfere with an abortion clinic. But prohibited activity number 2 is to obstruct, to intimidate, or to interfere with houses of worship during the course of the exercise of First Amendment rights. They were interfering with the house of worship. A number of us have called for the repeal of the FACE Act because the Democrats and the Justice Department have used it only to prosecute pro-life activists and have never used it to protect Christians.
Yeah, I mean, this seems pretty cut and dry from what you just laid out and explained there. It's like we saw these activists and Don Lemon saying that it was their First Amendment right to disrupt these services and, in a private place of worship. Why is their argument just flat out asinine?
Well, the real pandemic here has been the pandemic of ignorance with regard to the United States Constitution. The First Amendment allows for freedom of speech in the public square. Okay, a house of worship is a private house. It is not the public square. But Don Lemon doesn't understand the Constitution, and if he does, he doesn't care. He wants to destroy it. They have absolutely zero First Amendment right to come in and interfere with a private worship service on private property. So the argument is about as ignorant as he is and should be discounted as such.
So if you were Attorney General Pam Bondi, what would your plan of action now be? What would you proceed with?
The indictment would have taken place within 24 hours of the incident. If you listen, the reason that a number of us have called for the repeal of the FACE Act is because it has been unevenly applied. Only Christians have been prosecuted. But the Justice Department has refused to protect Christians during houses of worship. And when you apply it one way and not the other, that's a violation of the right to equal protection under the Constitution.
I mean, this footage that we saw from the weekend was just shocking. It should sort of be a watershed moment in our cultural history as Americans. I mean, just seeing that, and putting down a precedent that this cannot happen again.
Right. Well, the watershed moment started when the Democrats started to bastardize the courts and use them to attack Christians and political opponents based upon the exercise of First Amendment rights. If we don't strike back here, it will be a watershed moment. In other words, the Justice Department has been weaponized to attack Christians. But the law says that you're supposed, Pam Bondi, to defend Christians under this FACE Act, the so-called FACE Act, if this mob comes in and interferes with the rights of Christians exercising their First Amendment right to worship. It is clear cut. Either we will stand up and you're going to do what President Trump was elected on, and that is to clean up the justice system and clean up the Justice Department and get rid of this one-sided, justice system that favors the left and attacks Christians, or not. So yes, the failure to act indeed would be a watershed moment. If she acts, at least we're sending the message that the law applies evenly across the boards, which is what equal justice under the law is supposed to be about.
Seems that way indeed. Well, we will see what happens. Don Brown, thank you so much for your thoughts today. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Alexandria. Appreciate you.